shit, I made a mistake. I Anyway, okay, so this is number 2 of fentanyl problems in the U.S. This is Jeffrey's story. Here we go.
All this started by Jeffrey decided to try meth. For whatever reason, nobody knows the truth. But he did. Then Jeffrey is taken to the ER and from there to the ICU, where they deliver the news to neurologists that Jeffrey has diffuse hypoxic ischemic severe brain damage. And they tell us that basically all the lobes of his brain and the brain stem pretty much are gone. Right away, within the first 2 weeks, they already start being very hostile against just basically pushing as hard as they could this connection. Jeffrey was in life support. He had at one point 22 machines. He had 4 organ failures. The head of neurologists came to talk to us within those weeks that they didn't stop for the 2 months, having meetings twice a week, the case managers, many of the doctors, and basically letting us know that Jeffrey needed to be disconnected. And one day we got a visit from one of the heads of neurologist department, and he told us directly to our face that basically, in other words, if we would have had his education, this decision would have been made a long time ago. They would have disconnected Jeffrey, which I came to find out later with George, that what happened is that in 1999, Texas passed a law, and that law is called the Advance Directed Act, that allows hospitals and doctors, when they are in disagreement with the patient's relatives or the patient himself or the surrogate, like in my case, if the person should die or live when is in certain levels of conditions, like in artificial support machines to sustain life, that Texas gave them the authority to basically take custody, completely guardianship of your relative, mother, son, father, daughter, husband, wife, and they will determine and will make the decision if that person will be killed, disconnected, or not. They have that power. And if they cannot resolve it very fast, convincing the patient families to make the decision, then they involve the ethics committee of the hospital, or even a mediation with another person, basically to make sure that you make that decision that they think that is the right decision to be made. And if you don't make it, they will make it for you. Money and power drives the world. And the insurance company, which in this case, Texas, is pretty much Blue Cross Blue Shield, they at the end are the winners of this game, because the sooner your relative get disconnected, they don't have to pay millions and millions of dollars sustaining life of someone for 3, 4, 5 months. And so they are the big bucket winners, which they have lobbyists in governments laying in bed with Republicans and Democrats. And then the second benefactors of this law is the hospital itself, and they have to eat the bill because they won't eat such a big bill because they're gonna kill your family member when they think that is the right time according to them. Jeffrey not only lived because the people that has this severe level brain damage, most of them die. 64% die. So finally, after many fights, we were transferred to Tier. And in Tier, Jeffrey was like a rocket from NASA and blew the mind of everyone because Jeffrey, with the brain damage that he had, Jeffrey, within the end of the second week, Jeffrey was put in the vector machine to start walking and standing. They start stimulating Jeffrey muscles, and Jeffrey legs of his muscles, they're all active. Jeffrey at the end of Tier could stand. Jeffrey could have initiation movement. Jeffrey had a great success in OT, starting to throw the ball, grab things. His hands and limbs were moving, trying to in a direction. All this is absolutely impossible for a severe hypoxic like Jeffrey had. Jeffrey could see, Jeffrey had consciousness, awareness, intelligence, and memory. And just that alone is just impossible in his case. Rapidly, very quick, it starts showing that not only there was somebody there, which they told us, the neurologists and Methodists, that this person doesn't longer exist and will never be there again. But Jeffrey was interacting with us, interacting with the nurses. In April of 2023, Jeffrey surprised everybody, started speaking. So they find out that actually the area of his brain could make sentence or remember verse, adjectives, and how to create a sentence and what that sentence means. And Jeffrey was a total success until start getting very sick because a situation with his feeding tube that happened. Jeffrey started declining really, really bad. And so the first 3 months were a great success. The next almost 2 months where Jeffrey, in his ill condition, throwing up day and night, every meal, and losing weight and getting fragile. Jeffrey is still, when the therapists were coming to get him out of bed, Jeffrey still was standing, Jeffrey still was trying to move forward. Jeffrey is a case that should be worth of scientific studies for what he has achieved. But Jeffrey started just going down the hill due to that. I knew that all this started as soon as they changed the feeding tube, but the next almost 2 months, Jeffrey, nobody was really making a decision to change the feeding tube, to call a gastroenterologist, and it was a terrible situation, but finally they decided to discharge us. And Jeffrey still was not medical stable at all. The insurance company, Blue Cross Blue Shield, decided not to pay anymore, which is super convenient because Tier is a fortune. And so, and already Tier was determined that Jeffrey needed to move on to the next place. And we were insisting that Jeffrey was medical unstable completely. So there is a system of numbers that Tiered internally work with. And that numbers are according to how much a patient progressed. And they have these numbers levels. And Jeffrey, being so ill, was not longer generating these levels of numbers which give tier a lot of credit with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So Blue Cross Blue Shield approves almost everything they request because they are an absolutely success story. But Jeffrey was no longer a success story because the issue with the feeding tube. So he needed to be discharged. We were supposed to bring Jeffrey home because the insurance was not paying for another place, and so our option was to bring him home or send him to a nursing home. Both places were no, because I was not gonna bring my son home to die in those conditions, and I said it many times. But finally, we were sent to another place that is just a rehabilitation neuro facility at the level for Jeffrey of just rehabilitation center. So we went there, but I told them before leaving, in 72 hours I'm gonna be in the ER with Jeffrey. And yes, within a little bit more than 72 hours in that place, they were calling at 2:30 a.m. the ambulance, and they were taking us to UTMB Galveston, Jenny Sealy, where we stayed for 2 months, and Jeffrey, critical. Jeffrey started throwing up again and started throwing up violently and not stopping throwing up. And so all his electrolytes and potassium and sodium, everything became out of whack, and it was just horrible. So we get to Jenny Sealy, UTMB in Galveston. We're taking there, which at this point I don't know, neither my husband, that is a school hospital. So in the 2 months we were there, we have 4 routes of teams of just graduated from medical school doctors that pretty much they don't have a clue what they're doing with Jeffrey. Jeffrey is an extreme case for the greatest minds because it's a diffuse hypoxic severe brain damage. So even though Jeffrey progressed and life is remarkable, miraculous, because only multiple of miracles could have done this, which right now we have counted 17 miracles, extraordinary miracles that we can prove with labs, with MRIs, with scans. But at UTMB, I started screaming that it was a feeding tube, and that we need to have a gastroenterologist, which took 3 weeks, I think, to call one. And as soon he saw him, and he went to change the feeding tube, he said, I cannot change the feeding tube right away because this is a mess, and I need to do a surgery. And so they had to reschedule to change the feeding tube. And right after that, Jeffrey started improving right away and started vomiting and started improving and getting better. But his kidneys were not being taken care of right. Jeffrey muscles, body is not being able to hold really food. They had to have IV, and the amount of liquids and water that they even had to give to him was not the right. Kidneys starting to have problems with kidneys. Jeffrey ended there with a pre-sepsis condition, seriously. As soon as the feeding tube was changed, Jeffrey started improving. Jeffrey became alive again. We saw that the feeding tube was absolutely the main issue. I cannot go in all the details of the horrors we lived there, but we needed to, at the end, we needed to just be discharged, which they were desperate at the end that we get discharged, and the case had become too complicated for them to handle it, and I started also requesting that Jeffrey goes to Pam at Humble with Dr. Di Tommaso, that is a genius of the type of condition that Jeffrey has. So Jeffrey can be in a hospital rehabilitation center for his level of brain damage to start going back again and move forward. But the insurance Blue Cross Blue Shield denied it. And they appealed and they denied it. Blue Cross Blue Shield has been denying and declining, denying and declining for the past at least 7 months. And this has been a fight for me and my husband of hell, because not only we have the major situation that we have in our hands, that is our son in this condition, but also we have a monopoly, basically, insurance company that is saying, I'm not going to pay a penny more because we already have spent a fortune in him. Right now we're at home, so we left UTMB, then we came to Nexus Specialty Hospital in Woodlands. From there, we moved to Nexus Specialty in Woodland as well, but another level, because Jeffrey started to do therapy again. Jeffrey ate a full Gerber, mango Gerber that Jeffrey just ate. In the name of Jesus, from now on, we're moving forward. Pizza, is that right, Jeffrey? Pizza, is that right? Pizza, yes, yes. Jeffrey, the PT and OT team taking them to take a shower. Jeffrey started to rub himself to try to wash his hair. Jeffrey started to stand strong and starting even trying to write. Yes, oh my God, that is awesome. And that was something extraordinary. But even with all that, Blue Cross Blue Shield decides to deny it, that Jeffrey moved to the other Nexus to do more therapy, because we find out through somebody internally that the statement of Blue Cross Blue Shield is that we have spent a fortune in him and we are not paying a penny more. And he needs to go to a nursing home. And if they don't want that he goes to a nursing home, take it home, which we're home. They need to close the financial books on him. And their only driven interest is to benefit themselves financially. So they start the process of denying under the excuse, in the case of Jeffrey, that Jeffrey cannot handle 3 hours of therapy a day. But he obviously can. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord. And this last place that we were right before coming home, we were there for 2 months. I have videos that before arriving there, Jeffrey's feet were fine and he could stand, because if not, it's very painful even to stand. But because in that place, they don't allow you to stay there, to be there with your relative. You can only visit. So I realized after several weeks that in the way they handling the wheelchair, in the way that they're not doing therapies pretty much at all, the way that Jeffrey needed, then, and nurses obviously did not even pay attention. Nobody paid attention about that his feet are starting to drop until the point that became a complete tiptoeing, I came to realization of that disaster, and I started screaming to the four winds what a disaster this has been, this negligence, because now more likely for a fact Jeffrey's gonna need surgery. Something that we avoid for almost a year to happen. So after coming home, mind you, that after complaining in that place, one of the directors prohibited me completely to come and visit Jeffrey for 7 days, which I cried to death in the house. Is my son has brain damage, is in a terrible situation. He doesn't understand, he doesn't talk, he cannot ask, where is my mom, why she's not coming to visit me? And she has abandoned me finally, and nobody can give him an answer. And I am destroyed in the house. So for that, with no reason or statement really of any kind worthy of any value, they did that. And finally Jeffrey get home, and at the same time I find the surgeon for the hand. At the same time, in the same clinic, I found Dr. Buitrago, which is an orthopedic surgeon for the legs and the feet. So we talk at that moment, and they both make a decision 2.5 weeks ago that they will do the surgeries on Jeffrey. They fix also the nerves on his legs so he can do that walking, he can stand again, but the condition is Jeffrey needs to go right away to an inpatient rehabilitation center for his level. Say hi, everybody. So we called Pam. Immediately they sent a clinical person, a person from Pam to immediately evaluate Jeffrey, which they already know Jeffrey case. So Tochi Tomaso has met Jeffrey already and treated Jeffrey at Nexus Specialty. And so they accept Jeffrey immediately. So medically, clinical speaking, they believe Jeffrey needs to go there, and they can handle Jeffrey immediately for a reevaluation of all the neuro. Then we start getting the profit of these major surgeries, so Jeffrey can start standing, start walking, as they overseeing Jeffrey entire conditions, phosphorus, sodium, kidneys, everything, reevaluation completely. And they put an application to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield denies. They put an appeal. Blue Cross denied, because Blue Cross Blue Shield have stated very clear they're not paying a penny more for Jeffrey. They have spent a fortune for Jeffrey, and they will not do it anymore. Jeffrey, for them, is closed books, financial books. Go to a nursing home, even though Jeffrey shows a remarkable, extraordinary, miraculous recovery with so many hundreds of videos that I have up to this moment that he's at home, that I have sent to them in email, and the social workers say they don't see videos because they don't want to be emotionally attached to the case. So we came to find out, as we are going from place to place with Jeffrey, that people start coming close to us, and we start building relationship with people because we're staying in places for months. And so we get close to other people who has kind of same cases, and they have all come to us. I mean, many of them have come to us that in the hospitals, when their husband or daughter or son were in ICU, pretty much immediately hospitals start pretty much immediately building the case for disconnection. And in these cases, these people were in much even better shape than Jeffrey. and they were forcing disconnection. So who profits here? Hospitals that they don't eat the bill when they have to pay it? Insurance company like Blue Cross Blue Shield? This is horrible. Against all odds and against all the disaster that we have encountered of negligence, incompetence, or whatever that it is, Jeffrey keep moving forward. Jeffrey, right now, I have the video singing with me Feliz Navidad and dancing. Jeffrey has started to talk a lot this last 4 weeks. Sometimes, most of the time, you don't understand what he's saying, but many times you understand the full sentence. Jeffrey has started to go to the refrigerator and start opening the refrigerator. Jeffrey's starting opening drawers and grabbing spoons because we're working on that because I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I'm Jeffrey, therapist, mother, nurse, everything right now. And it's not fair. After all the fight we have done, what a great and amazing story this is. The scientists in these places should be used in Blue Cross Blue Shield. In the case of Jeffrey, that is a fentanyl survivor, instead of putting everything to bring this survivor to flourish and get that story of this event in Texas, which is probably the state where most of the fentanyl have come through, instead of that, they have been the wall that is trying to impede over and over again Jeffrey development. This is disgusting, repulsive.
Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you can share this video. Good night.